first publication, it's not like, well, I mean, you should definitely consider submitting your article. It's a prestigious, peer-reviewed journal. But a first step to getting there might be reviewing a book for us. And for me, I'll just leave these little, they're supposed to be bookmarks, but they're really flimsy. But if there's a book that's just come out that deals with law and society, and you need an excuse to read it anyway, you should email me and say, hey, this new book has come out and it deals with, with blah, psychology and law. Do you want me to review it for the journal? And if I don't already have someone on it, and it has to have some connection to Canada, published in Canada, written by a Canadian, or deal with Canada in some minor way, then you should do it. And it's really kind of it's a nice place, I think, to get a publication.
I was going to just say briefly that professors, however long they've been teaching, don't have access to all that knowledge either, right? It's not like it's something up there that at some point you open the door and you have the access. So, and also some professors just are better at thinking about their students and colleagues than others. That's just because some people in life think of others more than other people do, right? It's not necessarily anything about students or professors or law or anything. Any disciplines, just how people are. So some people, as they meet others, will just have them in mind. And when they see something, they'll just be generous about it. And then others, it's not that they're stingy necessarily or selfish. It's just not part of how they operate. And I was thinking as I was listening, I thought, I don't even know about this conference alert website, but this would be something that I would then try to put out on our weekly grad info bulletins, that then graduate students will know about it. But I think graduate students can also help each other out, that if you find ways in which to share on a website at your own faculty or at the university, or ways to communicate among each other, I think that's also extremely helpful, so that you don't kind of hoard the information, right? It's not about like being a little squirrel taking your own little piece of information you don't want anybody else to know about, reviewing a book or something for this journal, but you want to be able to share those things.
Another website is HNet, which also will send you things about job ads and stuff also, in addition to conferences.
Okay. Sorry, I know that there's been a lot. Yes.
My question is, if you could comment about this 6-month rule. I don't know if this is true or not, but you want to come to a position within 6 months after your graduation of whatever program you're doing. And second, how does that relate to those of us who wear two hats? One as a lawyer, one as an academic, and someone who wants to practice law for a bit, maybe gain insight from there, and how that translates into an academic portfolio down the line.
I never heard of the 6-month rule.
I heard that.
I don't think there is a rule. I think just in general, people don't like to be unemployed for long periods of time, but I think, so you want to kind of, have something that you're doing next, but I don't think there's any particular rule. And I also think that lots of people are teaching in various levels, in various departments, faculties, etc., with a different combination of experiences. So there isn't a kind of one template there.
The only thing I'll say about the 6-month rule is I didn't know about the 6-month rule. I know about the contract teaching trap, which is you do your dissertation and it's great, and there are no jobs opening in your area, and so you start contract teaching, and that can end up being a trap because you end up having to teach 3 classes, 4 classes to make ends meet, and then you never have time to do your own research, and then you're not competitive when the jobs come up. So it is, the people talk about try not to get into that contract teaching trap if your goal is to get a tenure track position, because it's hard, and frankly, faculties will take advantage of you, right? Because the tenure track ones want time to do their research. So great, we've got some we can pay bargain basement prices, and they're doing the teaching, the bulk of the teaching, so I can do the research. So I mean, try not to fall into it. Like, how are we supposed to not fall into it? I mean, it's totally, I mean, one thing to really take into account when you're doing academic job hunting, it's so much of it is luck. It is so much about luck. What they happen to be looking for when you happen to go on the market. So you cannot, I mean, you can't take it if you don't get a job at your first round or your 10th round. So much of it has to do with that. And also, like, what's trendy in the academia? Is homo trendy or is like neoconservative trendy? I mean, that's also stuff that doesn't have anything to do with how smart the work is. So that's, I mean, that's something to just keep in mind around the six. I mean, like I said, I didn't know the 6-month rule, but the contract trap, I think, is a tough one. So to try and always I mean, that's one reason to try and publish while you're a doctorate student and you're not in that trap yet, and hopefully we'll never be in the trap. The other thing, I mean, my feeling about people who do legal work, lawyers who practice, are very much appreciated in law and not even non-law faculty departments, because you're bringing a kind of real world experience that those of us who went very fast through the bar and then went right back into academia don't have. So I don't think you should feel, I mean, that's my impression in the very small schools I've had stuff to do with, that can be a real asset, depending on what you're teaching, but that can be a real asset to your portfolio.
Yes, just as a follow-up to that, I know this is another option, but
I think there are a number of people waiting, so maybe we'll just let people have a first question and we'll come back. And I just feel bad because I know that number of people have put their hands. I think Jane and then back here.
Okay. How many articles do you need in order to be competitive? I know that there's no number, but like
no number.
And
you already knew the answer.
Okay, but what quality? Like, do they have to be really high ranked?
It could be one.
Okay, it could be one.
It
minimum,
could be one.
Right?
I mean, yeah. And just to say, people are hired without having published, right? Based on their chapters, especially if they're doing something that the department really, really needs. So
I'd say less and less. I think having something published, but I think one is fine. Something. 15, and when the people start reading them, either they're all repeated, right? You're just taking the same thing and just putting it in different places, and it's actually all the same article, just 15 times, doesn't look good. And 15 bad articles don't look good either. So it's really not about quantity.
Right.
Just isn't. Yeah.
Yeah. No, one will catch your attention. Will catch the committee's attention. I mean, the other thing that's, I know, like totally obvious advice, but it's amazing how many people don't follow it, because I looked at the applications last year, that you really, really need to know the institution you're applying to, and to say, like, this professor does this, and I could collaborate with that, and I love that you have this particular stream, or this, like, really cater your letters to the institution that you're applying to, because that's something every university will notice, like, oh, this is just a form letter, oh, they're really interested in us, so they'll really bring something to this particular department.
And that you've thought about the fit. And if as you write it, you actually don't think there's a fit, and what you're writing is really just not true, then throw out the letter and don't apply there, because it doesn't make sense, right? And then they'll see through that. And if they're asking for people to teach X, Y, and Z, and you're writing that you can do X, Y, and Z, and there is nothing about your file, or actually inside you, that says that you want to teach X, Y, and Z, then you shouldn't be doing it. So I think that's also an important point. Okay, I'm seeing all the hands. We will try to, yes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I was struck that Professor Khan said you found out about your first job in a conversation from Carlton. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that there's an inside track to academic jobs, which is not posted on a website?
No. Oh, yeah, no.
And where do you get where those conversations are happening?
They're happening in Wales. The conference happened in Wales. They, it was the summer that and so they knew that a hiring was coming. So it was posted in September.